This episode is brought to you by Squarespace. Alright, so it's been a couple of years since any of my work has made it into an exhibition or a gallery show. And a couple of months ago, a open submission from Asian Archives popped up for their new exhibition, which is Through the Looking Glass, the Stories Behind and in Front of the Lens. And I'll talk a little bit more about the message behind it because it's something that means a lot to me. But long story short, one of my photographs were selected, and I was fortunate enough to be one of the 10 talented photographers to be able to have our work on display for this gallery show. Now, at the time of uploading this video, you still have a chance to go and check out the gallery in person yourself. I will leave all of the details for the show down in the description below. But as incredible as this accomplishment was for me as a photographer, another dream came true when Kodak actually sent over a package, and I have it in front of me here and I'm going to unbox it for you guys. And the show is on from October 6th through October 31st. So again, at the time of the uploading of this video, you still have time to check it out in person. Now, I'm going to read this straight off of their website to give you guys a little bit of a backstory behind the message. Storytelling is a cure for hate. We are arguably in the most interconnected period in history, and yet it is a moment in time that is still plagued by prejudice. In 2020, we saw a terrifying rise of violence towards Asian people in the US. During this uncertain and painful period, we knew that we had to take ownership of our narratives and share our stories. So personally for me, you guys, this was something that hit home because just where we are in the Bay Area, there was a lot of crazy stuff happening in 2020. And so when there was open call for submissions for this gallery, this was something that I definitely wanted to bring to light just so I could share my story as well, because I didn't really come from the best background. I actually come from an immigrant family, and so a lot of my upbringing was based around tradition and also just being very logical. Art, photography, none of that was in the picture. It was either nursing school or something more stable. Now, part of the submission process was you had to give a little bit of insight about yourself, and they also had a couple of prompts, and I'm going to essentially just put up on the screen some of the prompts that I've answered to give you guys a better understanding of who I am, because I don't really share too much on the channel about, you know, where I come from, my family, and overall just my life's backstory. And so, all right, so when you pull up my interview section on the page, it says, I was always told to follow a traditional career path and become a nurse, but as I grew older, I just realized it wasn't for me, which was 100% true. So my mom and my dad immigrated from the Philippines in the late or early 90s. For anybody out there who is Filipino, there is one career choice that a lot of us seem to make, and it's nursing. And that was kind of what they pushed me towards. It was either nursing or something within the medical field, but definitely medical related. Now, one of the first photos that I submitted of myself was a picture of me when I think I was like 4 or 5 years old holding a guitar. Now, one really crazy thing that probably a lot of you guys don't know about me is I am also a musician, and I got that from my dad. So my dad is a huge musician. He plays a ton of instruments. He had his own band for almost 20 years and 2 decades, and I played in that band with him. And so a lot of my, I guess you would say, art and kind of creative talent, I feel like stems from my father. One of the questions and prompts here was, what is your earliest memory interacting with a camera or creating a photograph? And my response was, my mom was a huge Polaroid shooter. Birthdays, holidays, road trips, you name it. My mom always had her Polaroid with a few extra cartridges she just picked up fresh from Walgreens in her bag. I remember taking her camera and shooting packs of Polaroids and shoving them into family albums. Something about peeling off that thin plastic film and sticking the exposed Polaroid to the page and sealing it made me extremely happy. I only realized later on this is where my love for analog photography started, which is 100% true. So even though a lot of my creative side was, you know, from my dad, I believe, I definitely have a very, very early memory of falling in love with photography because of my mom. So she was the photographer of the family. She had Polaroids for days. She probably had like 3 or 4 Polaroid cameras. I remember her getting these little Canon Owl point and shoot 35mm cameras. She never shot with SLRs or like super fancy 35mm cameras, but if you go through my family's collection of albums, every single one of my childhood photos up until probably like 2010 were shot almost all exclusively on film. So hats off to my mom, man, for introducing me into analog photography. But if you guys want to read the rest of that interview, definitely go ahead and do so. But that's all I'm going to share from it for now. I am extremely grateful for not only the curators of Asian Archives, but also just to be given that opportunity to tell my story and kind of submit everything about my life to an audience that I usually don't connect to on that level. All right, now before we move on to unboxing the package from Kodak, I want to give a huge thank you and shout out to our sponsor for this episode, the good folks over at Squarespace. Squarespace is your all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your business. Now, as a photographer shooting over into 2023, one of the best ways to become presentable and professional is to create your own online website. Squarespace has a ton of award-winning templates that you can use to get started within minutes, as well as a dedicated page for a blog, portfolio, an e-commerce shop, and one of my new favorite features, the video page, where you can select and upload certain video content or even display your YouTube videos directly on your website. So if you want to get started today with your own personalized website, head over to squarespace.com/KingJapes and enter promo code KingJapes at checkout, and you guys can get 10% off of your first purchase of a domain or a website. Huge thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring today's episode. So kind of in response to the gallery show, a representative from Kodak actually reached out to the Asian Archives team, and they said they wanted to provide each of the photographers like a little care package. And so every one of the photographers received what I'm about to show you guys right here. And that in itself, you guys, is a huge hats off respect to Kodak for not only supporting gallery and kind of the message behind it, but also for just being amazing at being very personable to the people that shoot their products. So let's go ahead and unbox this, you guys. Let me show you what they sent over. All right, so it came in kind of like a bubble mailer. I don't have the physical box with me, but I have all of the items here. So the first thing that I am going to show you guys is this little, I guess you would say it's like a, let's just say catalog. All right, there's a nice little catalog right here. It says Kodak Professional, the world's best professional film. And on the inside, you guys, it has a little display of some of the different color films, as well as a couple of quotes from photographers. It also has like a little scale right here to tell you about the color profile of each of the film stocks. But what I really like about this thing is on the back side, it shows a ton of examples of, photographers' work using each film, and then a list of all of the available films that Kodak is currently producing, which I didn't even realize is a ton of them. T-Max P3200, Tri-X 320, Ektachrome, Ektar, all the Portra line. And this doesn't even include, the non-professional films. These are just the professional films that are being made currently. You still have Kodak Gold, Ultramax, etc. That right there is pretty cool. That's really nice to have. But after that, you guys, opened it up. This right here is just like a little promo thing, like a little social media receipt. Then we also got a handwritten letter from Tim Rayugo. Hopefully I don't butcher his last name right here, but this is him right here, Tim Rayugo. And I will be reading that here in just a second. And lastly, you guys, we have this little kind of pouch right here, and it has a ton of film inside of it. So I'm gonna go through this and show you each of the different film stocks one by one. But let's start off with the letter. So Tim Rayugo right here to Jonathan Pragas, which is me. On the bottom right corner, it says 35mm because they kind of asked, what's your preferred format? And I said 35mm. All right, so check this out, man. Check out the card from Kodak. That is killer. All of the little film stocks up in the front here. And when you open it up, here is the handwritten letter. So this was dated October 14th, 2022. Dear Jonathan, congratulations for being chosen for the AAPI Asian Archives Photographic Exhibition in Brooklyn, New York. As a third-generation Japanese American, I am proud to represent Kodak Professional Film for the US and Canada. Enclosed is a small gift of film as a token of my appreciation. Keep on observing life and creating art with more success to come. Best regards, Tim Rayugo, Kodak Professional. So, ask me 5 years ago if Kodak would ever send me anything. I'd probably tell you no. I'd probably look at you like I'm like a crazy man. Just want to say, Tim Rayugo, thank you so much for sending this handwritten note, but also just the overall package. It really means a lot. Thank you so much. Okay, moving over into the pouch, you guys. It's kind of dope because it says do not x-ray. I think this is a lead lined bag, and you know, it's kind of intended to be brought through the airport security for the TSA officers to know not to throw it into the scanner, but rather to hand check it, just so your film doesn't get messed up. If you didn't know, you're not supposed to send film through the x-ray scanner. But that's why they have that in bold letters there on the bottom. But here we go, you guys. Let's go through each of these film stocks one by one. So the first thing I noticed was they sent over a Portra 400 lip balm. This is dope. They are looking out for the Ashy brothers of the world here. Thank you so much for sending this over. This is dope. Best lip balm ever. They also sent over a little Kodak pin, which is dope. This is gonna end up on one of my countless camera bags. I don't know which one yet, but really, really dope Kodak pin right here. And the rest of what's in the bag is film. So starting off with the box stuff, we have here a roll of Kodak Color Plus 200. And this is in the 36 exposure roll. Really, really amazing film stock. This is one of my favorite film stocks produced by Kodak, other than Kodak Gold and of course Portra. Set that right there. The next box film, you guys, is ektar 100, of course, in the 36 exposure format. And Kodak ektar wasn't always my favorite film stock until Monument Valley. I think that's when it kind of changed my mind to just how amazing it can actually be. So Kodak ektar, I'm super excited to shoot that. And then we got a roll here of Portra 800. This is the classic Portra 800 that everyone knows and loves. One of my favorite film stocks. I think I like this even more than Portra 400. And again, in the 36 exposure format. And last but not least, you guys, we have two rolls here of Portra 400. Now, you guys should know what that looks like. What the heck, let's go ahead and unbox it here. We got two rolls of Portra 400, again, in the 36 exposure rolls. So, you guys, I am packed out for film. I have a ton of Kodak film to go out and shoot. If you guys want to see a review or kind of like a shooting video of any of these film stocks, if you guys are interested in that, please leave a comment down below. Let me know which one to do so I can make a video on it, because I'm always very, very happy to share my results with you guys in hopes that it will help you in some way. But that is pretty much the package from Kodak and the story behind you know, how I got into the exhibition in the first place. So huge thank you to everyone that was a part of the exhibition and gallery. You guys did an amazing job. Also, congratulations to all of the different photographers that were selected. It's an honor to be able to have my work displayed by some of the best photographers out there right now. And truly, you guys, Kodak, Asian Archives, everyone out there, I am really grateful for this. So thank you guys so much, man, for pretty much making my entire year. So thank you guys, man, for tuning into this episode. I will see you guys all in the next one. Let me know in the comment section down below again which film you would like to see. And that's gonna wrap it up. Until next time, Minolta Gang.